Let's talk about your husband, who's a pretty incredible man. How did you guys meet?
We met in LA 3 years before we actually had our first date.
Did you?
Yeah.
Why did it take you so long?
He was with somebody and I was with somebody.
Oh.
So, and anyway, I didn't really look at him like that, I don't think. I do remember going home that night. I was staying at a friend's house and I said, God, that guy is such a great person. You know, what a great guy. And that was it. I didn't think, oh, I wonder what he looks like without his clothes on. I didn't, you know, I wonder whether he thought I was hot. I didn't think any of that stuff. All I remember doing was talking to him all night and thinking he was a great guy.
Yeah,
and that was it. You know, it was sort of out of bounds because, you know, it wasn't
you
like
were in
it was,
a relationship.
he was only in LA for a night. He wasn't supposed to be where I was that night. He just happened to sort of pop in because he was travelling with a friend who was invited, and it was all actors and writers, and George is an advertising guy. It's not really his world.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, that was that. And then 3 years later, when he was single, and he didn't know whether I was or not, and I was, he came to something I did and introduced himself, and I did remember him. You know, I remembered a lot about him.
Yeah, right.
And then we went out on a date a week later,
and that's when you wanted to see him with his top off.
That's when I thought, you know what, it better be all right, because I'm not wasting my time with another heterosexual bestie. I don't need another, you know, male best friend. I've got plenty of those.
Right.
So,
did you used to give off the vibe of best friends to guys? Would you go on dates and then all of a sudden you'd come home with a new best friend?
No.
You weren't one of those?
No, I had my best friends. I wasn't looking to add to it. So if I went out on a date, and I even went out with gay guys, I'm sure, because I just figured anyone that's got the balls to ask me out, I'm going to, you know, spend an hour or two with, just in case. And I'm sure a couple of them were sitting on a fence or, you know, both legs over the other side of the fence or whatever. But I just thought, well, worst comes to worst, it's a, you know, it's a stir. How
full on though is dating though? How scary does that? I just would not have any idea what to do on a date. Did you used to date much? Yeah, I always liked it as a concept. I thought, you know, the way we did it was a bit sort of full on. Like it's either a one night stand or you're in a full on relationship in Australia. And I always thought, you know, one of the things about American culture I did like was the whole dating concept. Yeah, they date a lot.
Yeah. So I thought that was really sort of, you know, smart and, you know, a better way to get to know someone than the pressure of, oh God, I've got to have sex with them in the next 5 minutes, or of, you know, got to walk around saying, I've got a new boyfriend, when I don't even know anything about them. So Australians, I found, were too extreme in one way or the other.
It's a one night stand. Or a friend of mine went on 4 dates with a guy and she's like, I'm not really into this anymore, and sent him a text and said, you know, it's been lovely, but no. And he took it like a full-on breakup. And she's like, what constitutes being in a relationship these days? Like 4 dates is not a relationship.
Yeah.
But apparently to some people it is.
Yeah, I think it's a bit psycho actually, you know, isn't it? You know, because you don't even know. And I think that being able to see a few people at the same time, there's something really grown up and civilised about that. And, you know, you go, okay, and as long as you don't get too emotionally involved, you know, like this guy that you just mentioned, where you just, you know, it's just looking thanks until, you know, just browsing.
So when did you know that George, this
first
is on?
date.
Really?
Psycho.
Oh, you were the psycho.
Yeah.
Did he know first date?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. And I had a lot of long-term relationships prior to that, and even in the sort of 5th year, it was never going to, you know, no, I knew.
Right.
And it was never going to be. I just never, it was not like I was looking for something permanent, but when you see it, you know, I think it's good to recognise it. And George isn't the sort of dating sort of person. George is the guy you marry. You know, he's not a boyfriend. You know? I'd gone out with a lot of boyfriends, and I always liked a certain type of guy, and George was a whole other type that I hadn't even thought about.
Isn't that funny? So often people end up with somebody who is completely nothing to what they would say is their ideal. You know?
I think big, true love should catch you by surprise a little bit. I don't think you can imagine it.
No.
You know, because I always had a type, and he was not my, I mean, I was always into men that were really into hair. George has none. Yeah. You know, and I like that.
Well, and he's Greek, but you're the first Greek girl that he's dated. He went out with too.
Yeah.
So you both kind of went for the opposite.
He was trying to sort of, you know, forget that he was Greek. You know, I often say to him, can you please go to a mirror and see what you look like?
because when you say Bobby Dazzler, it just doesn't ring true for what I'm looking at, you know. So I think he was trying to sort of culturally assimilate in the sort of the world that I knew I couldn't. I sussed that out at 10 or 11.
Yeah, right.
I think George was still in his early 40s when he was trying to sort of, you know, de-Greek himself a little bit, you know. Like,
you Greekified him more though.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and I've created quite a woggy monster now.